What if the very thing you think brings you happiness is actually making you miserable? Think about it for a moment. You scroll through your Instagram feed, seeing picture-perfect lives, brunches with friends, exotic vacations, packed parties. You see these images and think, this is it. This is happiness. Social media has turned socializing into an art form, a carefully curated version of connection. But behind those shiny posts and filtered photos lies something darker, something Schopenhauer would warn us about. We've been conditioned to believe that social success is the ultimate goal. The more people we know, the more events we attend, the more we're validated. You attend a networking event and you feel a sense of accomplishment, as if those fleeting conversations and empty exchanges somehow made you more connected. But at what cost? Each click, each social gathering, each like we receive or give, it all feeds into a false sense of fulfillment. We chase social approval, never realizing that with every interaction, we might be moving further from the truth of who we are. Schopenhauer, the philosopher who dedicated much of his life to understanding human nature, would say this pursuit of socialization is the worst thing you can do. To him, the act of socializing doesn't bring us closer to others. It distances us from our true selves. Rather than building authentic relationships, we build facades. The friendships we think we're nurturing are often mere exchanges of convenience, hiding the isolation we feel beneath the surface. In the coming moments, we'll explore why Schopenhauer believed socializing was nothing more than a trap that promises connection, but delivers only compromise. Why do we continue to seek validation from others? And how do we free ourselves from this endless cycle? Stay with me, and I'll show you why choosing solitude over social approval might just be the key to reclaiming your freedom. We live in an age where the idea of socializing is synonymous with being connected. But what if everything we've been taught about relationships, the endless network of friends, the social events, the connections we form, has been built on a lie? Schopenhauer believed that socializing isn't about genuine connection, it's about compromise. Each interaction, he argued, is a transaction where we give up pieces of ourselves in exchange for the temporary comfort of belonging. Think about your own social life. How many of your interactions are truly fulfilling? How many of your conversations leave you feeling more connected to others or more connected to yourself? Socializing has become a performance, a way to appear engaged, successful, and fulfilled. Whether it's attending parties, participating in online conversations, or gathering followers on social media, the goal often isn't connection, it's validation. It's about fitting in, being seen, and gaining approval. We see this every day on platforms like Instagram. Friendships are reduced to a collection of likes, comments, and follow accounts. We see carefully curated posts, smiling faces at brunch, group selfies at events, but beneath the surface, where is the depth? How many of those friends are truly people who understand you, who care for your well-being, or who you can turn to in times of need? The truth is, many of these connections are as shallow as the screens we scroll through. They are facades, agreements to smile, nod, and click like in exchange for social currency. We spend hours crafting the perfect image to portray ourselves to the world, but how much of that is truly us? Schopenhauer would argue that this quest for social approval leads us away from our authentic selves. We begin to mold ourselves into the version that others want to see, rather than embracing our true nature. These interactions, instead of enriching us, drain us. Each social exchange that demands we act a certain way, say the right things, or fit into prescribed roles, takes us further from genuine connection. Over time, this compromise becomes the norm, and we forget what it's like to just be. As we scroll through endless images of perfect lives, we are left wondering, are we truly connecting with others? Or have we simply become masters of the art of compromise, trading authenticity for approval, and in doing so, losing something far more valuable? This isn't just about social media. This is the way society now views relationships. We've exchanged meaning for likes, depth for applause, and real connection for fleeting validation. Schopenhauer's harsh truth is that this is not living. This is surviving in a performance, one where the price we pay is far greater than the approval we receive. What if you're not making social choices, but simply conforming to a deeply ingrained societal pattern? You've probably heard the phrase, "go with the flow," or "everyone's doing it." And yet, have you ever stopped to question where this flow is taking you? Schopenhauer believed that most of our social decisions aren't the result of free will, but are driven by an invisible force, the herd mentality. Socializing, in his view, is just another form of following the crowd. The choices we think we're making, who we interact with, what events we attend, even the way we present ourselves, are often just reflections of societal pressures, not true, independent choices. Take a moment to think about your social life. When was the last time you decided to attend an event, not because you genuinely wanted to, but because it was expected of you? Maybe it was a party you didn't care for, a networking event you didn't feel connected to, or a group gathering you joined out of sheer habit. Now, ask yourself, did you truly choose this, or were you just following the rules? Social behavior, Schopenhauer would argue, is not driven by the desire for meaningful connection, but by conformity to societal expectations. The truth is, the more we socialize, the more we're simply following the script society has written for us. Schopenhauer argued that the majority of human behavior is governed by this herd instinct. Society doesn't just shape the way we think about our social lives, it dictates it. From childhood, we're conditioned to believe that to be successful, happy, or even valuable, we must constantly be surrounded by others. We're told that isolation is a flaw, that solitude is loneliness, and that fulfillment comes only from connection with others. We live in a world where busy is seen as a badge of honor, and social is equated with success. But what if all of this is just conditioning? This isn't just philosophical theory, it's real. How many times have you found yourself choosing to do something because everyone else is? It's almost as if social behavior has been programmed into us. Take the pressure to attend social gatherings. Whether it's a wedding, a birthday party, or a casual get-together, there's an unspoken expectation to show up, to be present, to be seen. The idea of saying no, of rejecting social participation, feels almost alien. You might feel guilty, disconnected, or even fear being judged as antisocial. But why? Are these feelings coming from your authentic self, or from the conditioning society has instilled in you? Schopenhauer's perspective forces us to confront a stark reality. We may not be as free in our social choices as we think. We might believe that attending that networking event, adding more people to our social media, or saying yes to another party is a sign of independence, but it's not. In truth, it's the herd mentality at work, shaping our decisions, manipulating our choices, and keeping us trapped in a cycle of social conformity. We aren't choosing freely, we are simply following what is expected of us, fulfilling roles that society has assigned. By challenging this ingrained pattern, we come face to face with a difficult question. Are we truly choosing our social lives, or are we simply conforming to the world around us? Schopenhauer's insight shakes the foundation of how we view our interactions. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that many of our social decisions aren't ours at all. They're the product of a deeply embedded social script. And perhaps the real freedom lies in rejecting this script and choosing to break free from the herd. In every social interaction, we face a choice between our authentic self and the temporary comfort of approval. Schopenhauer believed that every social engagement is a transaction. We give up pieces of ourselves in exchange for a moment of acceptance, a fleeting sense of belonging. What's the cost of this trade? The price we pay is our true identity. The more we seek approval, the further we move away from who we really are. How often have you found yourself agreeing with something you didn't believe, just to avoid conflict or rejection? It could be as simple as nodding along to a conversation at work, even though you disagree with everything being said, or laughing at a joke you don't find funny, just because everyone else is laughing. It's so easy to slip into these social scripts, isn't it? We change our behavior, our opinions, and even our values just to fit in. But with every compromise, we lose a bit more of ourselves. This is the trap Schopenhauer warns us about. He saw the human desire for approval as a form of slavery. We become so dependent on others' validation that we forget how to validate ourselves. Every time we say yes when we want to say no, every time we pretend to enjoy something we don't, we weaken our sense of self. It's not just about being polite or socially acceptable. It's about betraying our own truth to make others comfortable. In the pursuit of social approval, we compromise our authenticity for a few moments of external acceptance. Think about the pressure people feel to conform on social media. How many of us have posted a picture, not because we truly want to share it, but because we want to be seen in a certain light? We curate our lives to fit a mold, the perfect vacation, the perfect friendship, the perfect relationship. But in doing so, we sacrifice authenticity for likes, for comments, for fleeting praise. The real connection, the one that nourishes us, is replaced by the hollow echo of external validation. We become so focused on the approval of others that we forget how to be true to ourselves. But here's the catch. While we sacrifice authenticity to fit in, we end up missing out on something far more valuable. The more we compromise, the more we lose the ability to experience true fulfillment. The comfort of belonging may feel good in the moment, but it is shallow and temporary. In the long run, it leaves us feeling unfulfilled, disconnected from our core values, and empty inside. This is where Schopenhauer's philosophy offers us a powerful alternative. What if, instead of trading authenticity for approval, we chose to live according to our own values? What if, instead of pretending to be someone we're not just to fit in, we embraced who we truly are, regardless of what others think? Choosing authenticity over approval is not easy, but it is liberating. It leads to a stronger, more fulfilling life, where we can finally live in alignment with our true selves. The cost of authenticity might feel high in the moment, but the rewards are profound. By rejecting the need for constant social validation, we begin to discover our own worth. We stop living for the approval of others and start living for ourselves. And that, Schopenhauer would argue, is the only way to live truly free. In today's world, the modern socialite fills every hour with social obligations, work events, dinner parties, networking meetings, and casual meetups. It's as if their lives are a never-ending series of performances, each designed to maintain an image, gain approval, and avoid the uncomfortable silence of solitude. These social butterflies flit from one gathering to the next, rarely allowing themselves the space to breathe, to think, or to simply be. But what happens when we lose sight of our true selves in the name of socializing? Schopenhauer would argue that this constant cycle of social interaction isn't just tiring, it's a trap. Our lives become nothing more than performances, a series of roles we play to meet the expectations of others. The more we engage in this performance, the further we drift from who we really are. We cease to live authentically, instead becoming versions of ourselves that are molded to fit the demands of the crowd. We laugh when we don't find something funny, we agree when we don't truly believe, and we wear smiles that hide our true feelings. The problem with constantly socializing, Schopenhauer believed, is that it comes at the expense of something much more valuable: solitude. Solitude, for Schopenhauer, was the space where one could truly be free from the influences of others. It's in solitude that we find clarity, creativity, and connection to our deepest selves. Yet, the modern socialite avoids this space, fearing it would expose the emptiness they've been avoiding. The more we fill our lives with noise, the less we can hear our own thoughts. The more we seek the approval of others, the less we are able to connect with our true desires and passions. This constant performance takes its toll. Mental health begins to suffer as we wear ourselves thin, trying to meet the expectations of everyone around us. There's little time for self-reflection or personal growth. Instead, we become trapped in a cycle of outward appearances, measuring our worth by the quantity of social interactions and the number of people who acknowledge us. But this external validation is hollow. It's a temporary high that fades as soon as the next social obligation arises. As you reflect on your own life, ask yourself, are you living authentically, or are you simply performing for others? How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no, gone out when you wanted to stay in, or laughed at something just to fit in? It's easy to get caught in this cycle, to believe that more socializing equals more success, more happiness, more connection. But at what cost? When we constantly perform, we lose touch with who we truly are. We become prisoners of our own social life, trapped in a cycle that takes more from us than it ever gives back. Schopenhauer's message is clear. If we want to live fully, we must embrace solitude. True freedom lies in stepping away from the noise of the crowd and reconnecting with ourselves. It's time to stop performing for others and start living for ourselves. In a world that constantly demands our attention, where every moment seems filled with an obligation to be social, Schopenhauer's philosophy offers us an invaluable gift: solitude. While society pushes us to seek constant interaction and approval, Schopenhauer argued that true self-realization and intellectual freedom lie in embracing solitude. It's in the quiet moments of solitude that we can finally hear our own thoughts, reflect on our lives, and reconnect with our true selves. Schopenhauer saw solitude not as something to be feared or avoided, but as the foundation for personal growth and creativity. In solitude, we are free from the distractions and noise of social interactions. We are free to explore our deepest thoughts without the influence of others. In the absence of social validation, we begin to find a more genuine sense of worth. The pressures to conform, to follow the crowd, and to fit into prescribed roles are lifted, allowing us to break free from the societal mold. It is in these moments of solitude that we can truly define who we are, not by the expectations of others, but by our own thoughts, desires, and values. One of the most powerful aspects of solitude, according to Schopenhauer, is that it allows us to cultivate true creativity. When we are constantly surrounded by people and noise, our minds become cluttered. We are bombarded with external opinions, distractions, and social pressures that prevent us from thinking deeply. Our creativity is diluted, shaped by the expectations of others rather than our own original ideas. But in solitude, we are free to explore, to create, and to innovate without fear of judgment or interruption. It is only in isolation that the true power of our minds can emerge. Consider the greatest thinkers, artists, and creators in history. Almost all of them spent significant amounts of time alone. Whether it was writers like Kafka, philosophers like Nietzsche, or artists like Van Gogh, these individuals understood that creativity and intellectual freedom could only flourish in solitude. They didn't need the approval of the crowd or the constant affirmation that socializing brings. Instead, they turned inward, using solitude as a space to develop their ideas, reflect on their experiences, and push the boundaries of their work. This is where Schopenhauer's message becomes empowering. Solitude is not an uncomfortable void to fear. It is an opportunity to reconnect with ourselves, to explore our ideas without external influence, and to develop the intellectual and emotional strength needed to lead an independent life. Instead of viewing solitude as something negative or isolating, Schopenhauer invites us to see it as the key to true autonomy and self-mastery. For many, the thought of being alone might seem unsettling, even lonely. Social media has conditioned us to believe that we must always be connected, always be engaged, and always be in the presence of others. But the reality is that the more we fill our lives with noise, the more we drown out the most important voice, the voice within. Embracing solitude doesn't mean disconnecting from the world entirely. It means taking the time to step away from the noise, to listen to our own thoughts, and to reflect on who we truly are. Schopenhauer's philosophy offers a powerful alternative to the constant hustle of social life. Solitude is not a prison, it's a freedom. It's in the quiet moments alone that we find the space to grow, to think, and to create. So instead of fearing solitude, embrace it as a path to deeper self-understanding, true creativity, and the freedom to live life on your own terms. We live in a world where the need for social approval is constant, and with it comes an emotional and intellectual trap. The more we seek validation from others, the more we become enslaved by the expectations of society. Schopenhauer understood this psychological dynamic intimately. He warned that the quest for social approval doesn't lead to freedom or fulfillment, it leads to dependency. Each interaction, each attempt to please or fit in, pulls us further away from the autonomy and peace that comes from within. The desire for approval is subtle but powerful. It begins innocently enough. Maybe we seek a little praise, a bit of acknowledgement for our efforts or achievements. But as time goes on, we find ourselves addicted to it. Just like any addiction, it takes more and more to satisfy the craving. What begins as an innocent desire to be liked or appreciated evolves into a need for constant external validation. We begin measuring our worth not by our own standards, but by the approval of others. This dependency becomes so ingrained that it's hard to tell where our true desires end and society's expectations begin. Schopenhauer's insight into this trap is striking. The more we rely on others for our sense of self-worth, the more we lose our personal freedom. Every time we seek external validation, we surrender a piece of our inner autonomy. We become puppets, controlled by the strings of social expectations, constantly striving to meet the ever-shifting standards of those around us. Instead of living authentically, we live in reaction to the world, constantly adjusting our thoughts, behaviors, and even beliefs to fit in. Now contrast this with the self-sufficient individual, the person who doesn't rely on the approval of others. This person isn't immune to the world around them. Rather, they understand their own worth without needing others to confirm it. They live according to their own principles and convictions, not based on the whims of the crowd. This person is free because their sense of identity isn't up for negotiation. They don't need social approval to feel secure in themselves. As we reach the end of this exploration, let's return to Schopenhauer's core belief. True freedom and fulfillment don't come from society. They come from solitude. In a world where we are constantly pressured to connect, perform, and validate our worth through others, Schopenhauer's philosophy offers a radical alternative. The greatest strength lies in standing alone. By embracing solitude, we reclaim our time, our mental space, and most importantly, our authentic selves. Reflect on the cost of socializing. How much time have you given away in pursuit of approval? How many hours have you spent attending events, engaging in conversations, or curating a social persona, only to return home feeling drained, empty, or disconnected? Every minute spent chasing external validation is a minute not spent on personal growth, intellectual development, or meaningful self-reflection. Schopenhauer's philosophy invites us to challenge this cycle. It encourages us to see solitude not as loneliness or deprivation, but as the space where true personal growth happens. When we choose solitude, we choose to prioritize our own development over the demands of others. We free ourselves from the noise and distractions of the crowd and instead allow our minds to grow, reflect, and create. Solitude is where clarity comes. where our deepest thoughts emerge, and where we can finally hear our own voice above the clamor of society. So, what life will you choose? The life of external validation or the life of personal freedom? The choice is yours. You have the power to reclaim your time, your peace, and your intellectual freedom. Schopenhauer reminds us that in the quiet of solitude, we don't lose ourselves, we find ourselves.